Hello, welcome back to Xbox Infinite. Another week, episode 47. We've had a hell of a week. Xbox actually got games this week, and we've got a hell of a guest this week. Post up, man. How you doing? Welcome to the show. What have you been playing? There's a lot to play this week, so what have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Man, it's been crazy. You know, actually what I've been playing, and I'm at towards the end of it, and I had a fix for it, is Ninja Gaiden Sigma. I know it sounds like an old game, but
classic.
That's I needed my Ninja Gaiden fix, and I'm hopefully they bring the franchise back some point, but I'm towards the end of Ninja Gaiden Sigma.
Classic, yeah. I hope they do too.
Yeah, that is a classic, man. But I haven't played it. So,
this one goes back to the original Xbox days with the OG Ninja Gaiden and the Ninja Gaiden Black, which I think is still one of the best.
The best Ninja Gaiden that they've made. But none, definitely.
Old school. Very old school. But there's a lot out to play this week. And Doom Cutie, I know that you've been playing one of the new games that dropped this week, and we are going to get into it. But how's your week been, and what have you been... Well, I know you've been playing, but tell the people what you've been playing.
Thanks so much, Riskit. You're such a wonderful host, and welcome, Post Up. Loving having you. This week has been mental, not only for my own personal life, but also in gaming, and I've been super, super busy. But I did manage to find some time to play some Gotham Knights yesterday. I did receive... I received a code from Play On ANZ, thank you. And I have some thoughts.
I'm very interested.
I'm excited to share them with you.
I'm very interested to find out what your thoughts are. I did speak to you a little bit last night, and I'm curious, and I've been listening to what the community said, but I haven't heard a lot. My son bought the game. I haven't seen him physically, but when I do, I will slap him around the back of the head. Pete, how you doing? How's your week been? What have you been up to, man? What have you been playing?
Awesome. Just before I got on the podcast, I was late because I was stuck playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which I think is the most beautiful game that has ever been released. The game plays magical, looks magical, highly recommend it. Been playing Plague's Tale Requiem, love that game. I know it's in 30, I get it, but damn, we've needed a stealth-orientated, narrative-driven game, and it ticks all those boxes for me. Jumped into a little bit of Monopoly, and I know this sounds a bit weird, but I've been playing a bit of chess. But yeah, can't wait for this. Episode 47, Post Up. Welcome, brother. Everyone in the chat, welcome. Let's do this.
Absolutely. Umbra, how you doing, man? How's your week been? What have you been playing? Have you been checking out Call of Duty? I don't think you have. And what have you been playing?
Yeah, I haven't yet. I'm still getting gifted that, so I figure I'll have it and play it on PC. Unfortunately, I would prefer the achievements, but it is what it is. You can't beat free. I've been playing a bunch of stuff. By the way, Pete, did you say you've been playing with your chest?
Oh, wow.
Chess, bro. Chess.
Okay, I just testing to make sure that we all the same page. No, I heard you.
That's what we doing. That's what we doing.
I have to keep him on his toes, Post. That's all. I just see how he would respond. No, but yeah, I've been playing a bunch of things. I finished up, of course, Scorn. I don't know if everybody else here have yet, but yeah. Well, it's okay. It's a decent game, decent enough. I would give it like a 7, maybe, whatever. But and of course, I've been playing the hell out of the game that's on the screen right now. A Plague Tale Requiem game is. I'm almost this close to saying it's like, not even this close. I would say it's a game of the year contender. Honestly, I'm at chapter 10 now. Game is spectacular, and I mean that in every way.
I know. I saw that tweet, Umbra.
I couldn't agree more, mate. The game is unbelievably good.
That is a big call. That is a big call.
Yeah, that's major game.
I will put it up there as a contender. Like I still see.
It's better than Elden Ring.
No, Elden Ring is still the undisputed right now. No question.
It's definitely a contender. I agree 100% with that.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, Post, thanks. I appreciate you. We all appreciate you coming through, brother. You know,
man, I thank all you all for having me on your platform, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you coming through. And chat, you guys in the chat are always amazing. Thank you for coming through every week. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe button if you like the show. We'll jump straight into topics. And look, I know everyone's a little bit sick of talking about this. I think I think the entire community is a little bit sick, and they just wanted to go through and get it happening. But we're going to talk about the CMA because Xbox hit back during the week with a 38-page report or response to the CMA's report about why they were going to stage 2. And honestly, they have really lifted the lid on this because they've made them look stupid as far as I can see. And as the thumbnail said, they absolutely destroyed every single narrative that was in that report. Was just absolutely destroyed. Some of the things that came through I'll read out, and then I'll go to the panel. One of the ones that there's a few that I found interesting, and I'm sure that the panel's got a few other ones they want to dive into. We won't sit too long on this topic because, as I said, I know everyone's a little bit sick of the CMA and they just wanted to either go through or not go through. But Xbox spoke on the guarantee, and now we have a date, a solid date, which is 2027. So Xbox said, with access to Call of Duty guaranteed through at least to 2027 under the existing contract with Activision Blizzard, Sony has more than sufficient time to ensure its console platform and content portfolio is competitively positioned to withstand any impact from a hypothetical foreclosure strategy. They spoke a lot on Call of Duty and how it's really not imperative to PlayStation's platform. And there's quite a few things that they said there. One of them was that that Call of Duty has not been vital to Steam. I won't go through and read every single excerpt from this report. It's huge. But one of the things that they said is that Steam has been so successful without Call of Duty that this year Activision Blizzard decided to bring Call of Duty to Steam. That's pretty damning to PlayStation's narrative that they couldn't survive without Call of Duty on their platform. And look, every single narrative that they've brought out that old Jimbo Dance Moves Lion Ryan has said has been absolutely nailed. Well, a few other things, and then we'll go back to the panel. The CMA only mentioned consumers 10 times in their entire report. And I love that the Microsoft lawyers pointed this out. They said, indeed, while Sony is mentioned 57 times in the referral decision, consumers are only referred to 10 times. That really does give you an insight into how the CMA is approaching this deal. And they really are approaching it not from a competition standpoint, but from a business standpoint. And the business that they're approaching it from is Sony's bottom line. It's absolutely disgraceful. I'm stunned. You would never have thought that a government regulator from a first world country would be backing Sony. Look, I'll go to you, Post Up. Look, I assume you've read some of the report and heard some of the narratives from Sony. So, look, what were your thoughts on Call of Duty staying multi-plat through 2027 if they sign the deal? They were very, very specific, and they noted that it would be 2027 if Sony came to the table and signed that deal. So what were your thoughts on Microsoft honoring its contracts?
I think Sony should be happy that they're doing that. I think the time is sufficient enough for Sony to kind of get their games as a service in order, being that they're trying to release 12 games as a service in the next 2 years. So I think it's a sufficient time. And look, it's going to maintain the existing contract, meaning that within that existing contract, there is a clause that states that Activision cannot put Call of Duty on Game Pass within that marketing contract. So for the time being, from now until 2027, both systems would get Call of Duty, and Microsoft wouldn't be allowed to put Call of Duty, well, I guess new Call of Duties into Game Pass until the existing contract is over. You gotta appreciate that and respect the fact that they're letting you keep that clause within the contract. Sony, with this arrogance and things that they've been having in terms of their trying to maintain their market leaders, it's quite funny the way they've been acting. But I think that's a sufficient amount of time for them to get their act together. You got Bungie. Bungie is working on Destiny. I think they just came out and recently said they're going to rebirth the Marathon series, which, if I'm not mistaken, Halo kind of spawned from the Marathon IP. So if you get that back up, you have some IP in your fan base. Always saying y'all have the world greatest studios, unmatched. Can't nobody compete with them. So they should have the ability to put a competitive game out there. Now, is it going to overtake Call of Duty? Probably not. But it don't have to overtake, but it can compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And Microsoft even referenced the fact that that Sony touts its quality studios. But Umra, what were your thoughts on Call of Duty staying multiplat?
I mean, it just goes back to what Phil had been saying. I think a lot of us kind of came up with our own conclusions because of what they did with Bethesda. So we were like, oh, they're going to do the same thing here. But after a while, despite what maybe we want them to do, like if it was me, I would be petty. Yeah, I'd be like, Sony would be. I'd be like, nope, you're not getting it. But Microsoft was like, no, we know it's big money in Sony still. So why would we take our product from there? We're getting all that money from your players too. Why would we do that? And after logic seeps in, it starts to make sense. And just to say, you were correct, Post. Yeah, Marathon was the progenitor, if you will, the forerunner for Halo. It was, and so you're right. And they have Bungie now. And they have a way to compete. The thing is, Sony does not want to compete that way. They don't want to have to switch their tactics to play the game that Microsoft can and is doing it. That's the problem for them. Yeah. And the problem I have with the CMA is that, from what it seems like at least, is that they're kowtowing to what Sony wants to do and trying to fashion their reporting and their research, as they put it, to defend Sony. That's the problem that I'm having here. So I don't know. I look at that and you hear everything we're hearing when we read what we're reading, especially with Microsoft's response in the Phase 2 referral. And it was just hilarious because they said a lot of what we've all been saying. And it was, I won't say scathing, but it was definitely direct. And now they have the new A team on there. They brought in one of their other lawyers. I forget her name at the moment, but they're definitely taking it serious because
Langley. I think
is that it?
I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She was the one that helped them thwart the Nvidia deal. I know you.
Okay. Yeah, they're bringing her in, and so they're definitely, it's not something that they're going to let go lightly. And I mean, I figured that would be the case. Yeah, that's it. Her name is Rima Aleli. So yeah, she's one of the top legal strategists for them. So they're going to meet with the CMA now. I guess that whole visit, with Jim Ryan to Brussels. I don't know how that's going to turn out for him now, but yeah. So I think on a matter of facts that's presented, Sony doesn't really have a case here. The only way they have a case is if the CMA decides to be biased rather. And that's the only real distinction here that's causing so much confusion and issues for everybody and myself involved in this, is because it seems like pretty straightforward bias here, and it doesn't make any sense because like Risk pointed out, what Microsoft said is 57 times you said they referenced Sony, but 10 times the consumer. And that's their position, is supposed to be defending the consumer, but it's clear, what's the old saying? It's a saying that says the mouth will speak what the heart wants, or something to that nature, right? Ultimately, you're going to say what you feel, no matter what you try to say. If you really feel a way, it's going to be shown. And I think whatever the case may be, and whatever that bias is stemming from, because I've had this conversation a few times, and I said I don't get why people have this notion that Microsoft or Sony or anybody in business can't be bought off in a way or have a more favorable position due to lobbyists. We have it here in America heavy. As I pointed out to them, I said, we in Chicago, Post, we got nothing but corruption here with our politicians and police and everything else. Of course, people can be bought off. We know that. Yep. So why is the CMA above that? That's what I'm trying to get people to understand, is they're not above that. Of course they can.
Blatant in this case. It was blatant.
Yeah. And I mean, and to be fair, I said Microsoft could also play that game if they wanted. I mean, they got bigger bank if that was to be the case. But the thing of it is the clear case is in Microsoft's favor here if they are to take into case the facts of the situation. Sony's not being hindered here in any way except by their bottom line. That's it, and that has no place
I
for the
get that,
CMA
Umbra.
because
I get
yeah.
that, and if it was purely based on fact, then the Facebook Giphy deal would have gone through as well. And it looks like that their CMA has been, and look, I hate to say it, heavily politicized. I don't want to really bring politics into it, but I believe that facts aren't the only factor here. And look, they got heavily criticized and fined for blocking that Facebook Giphy deal, suggesting that Giphy may in the future could be a rival to Facebook is one of the stupidest notions I've ever heard, and they were right to be fined for it. And this is what is incredibly worrying. And you're absolutely right, Umbra. If it was based on fact, I don't think Sony's got a leg to stand on. However, if you go on, if you take what happened with Facebook and add that to what's going on with Microsoft and Activision at the moment, we really could have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
look,
mean, I hear you on that.
I don't think so, Pete. I think they got fined over the Giphy. I don't want to get into the Giphy thing too hard, but when they went back and had a look at it from a correct perspective with using correct procedures, because that's what the cat does. The cat looks at how they came to the decision, not the decision that they made, and they do that with every decision, whether it be a positive or a negative decision. And when
I agree with that, Riskit.
when they looked at their hang on a minute, when they looked at their decision and how they came to that decision in the first place, the first time, it was an incorrect process to go through, and that's fair enough. Guys in the chat, I am having a little bit of slowdown. I don't know why. I'm not dropping frames anywhere, so it's a bit weird, but you'll have to bear with us. But when they went back and they did it in a correct way and came to the same decision, I think that it was a fair enough assertion to make. But we can talk about Giphy later on. Pete, I'll go more to you. And what do you think? Because Microsoft reaffirmed their intent to keep Call of Duty on Xbox, on PlayStation and multi-plat. And they reference what we've all been referencing. We've all been saying it's really weird, and I suppose it makes sense though. They're referencing all the arguments that we've been making for this deal for the entire time that it's been going on. And the thing that they referenced was Mojang and Minecraft, how they made a commitment to stay multi-plat with Minecraft, and they have honored that commitment. And the CMA has been pointing out that they could just decide to change that at any time, were they to be the sole proprietors of COD. But it seems that Microsoft has pointed out and made some pretty clear arguments that that's not how they play the game.
I just wanted to go back to my prior point. I agree with everything you said about the Facebook Giphy, and I don't want to go into it too much, but my point being that if it does have to go to court and go through that process, then the acquisition is going to take a lot longer, and that's not what we want. We want to see these games entering Game Pass. Okay, and then to stipulate that on top of that, there was recently that release by Microsoft that suggested that Call of Duty, as of Modern Warfare 2019, and I believe onwards, doesn't really specify if previous Call of Duties will be, but there is a parity clause on them, and not just a parity clause. There's also a clause that they can't go into Game Pass. Sony is money hatching these properties. They don't want to compete. They don't want their studios to be able to make a Call of Duty successor or even rival. They just want to money hat these properties, and this is what is so incredibly just infuriating on how Sony is playing the game at the moment. They know they're the number one player. They know that they're leveraging that power, but they're leveraging it in the most anti-consumer ways. And for the CMA to parrot that is just so incredibly frustrating. And not just frustrating, it's infuriating. You pointed out, Riskit, that 57 times Sony was mentioned in the CMA's thing that they put out. That's disgusting compared to the 10 times that the consumer was pointed out. So all that is incredibly frustrating. And Microsoft have said, and I think we've said it numerous times, Call of Duty will remain multi-platform. It just will. It doesn't make sense for Microsoft to take it away from the Sony platform. But I think Post Up wanted to say something, so go for it. Brother.
Yeah, the multi-plat issue is not an issue. The main core of Sony issue with this deal is Game Pass, and it's the perception. Microsoft is doing a smart thing right here by keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation, because in the end the optics will look better and work better for them in terms of gamers looking at both companies and saying, hey, over here on PlayStation I have to purchase this game for $70, but on the Xbox I can pay $15 a month and get access to all Call of Duties. That's what Sony is scared of, and that's what they're fighting. That's what they're fighting. They don't want Call of Duty. Microsoft can have Call of Duty. They just don't want Call of Duty in Game Pass because of the optics and how it's going to look and the choices when it comes to value that the gamer is going to make. Because if you look back in the 360 era, when PlayStation Network went down, the Call of Duty fan base migrated to the 360 just to play the game. So in terms of loyalty, you don't come in. I don't want to hear nothing about loyalty, brand loyalty, or none of that, because majority of Call of Duty players are casual, and they're going to go wherever Call of Duty is and wherever they get the most value for Call of Duty. We seen that in the 360 era when a lot of the Xbox people made a migration from 360 over to PlayStation 4 because of what? The cheaper hardware, the Call of Duty, and the marketing that Sony had on it. So if they did that, they will make the same decision when this deal go through and after Call of Duty hits Game Pass, and that's what Sony is afraid of.
Well, they did reference this in the 38-page report. What they did say about COD going to Game Pass, and it was more a what if. It was a what if basically paragraph, and they pointed out what would happen if Sony lost 100% of their monthly active users that played Call of Duty. It says, indeed, as accepted in the referral discussion, PlayStation currently has a substantial number of Call of Duty monthly active users. Indeed, even if all of PlayStation's monthly active users that play Call of Duty were hypothetically to leave PlayStation, it would still have significantly more monthly active users than Xbox has today. They went on to basically say, in layman's terms, if Sony can't compete when they lose those Xbox, those COD monthly active users, and Xbox already has a lower count of monthly active users than they would already have, even if they gained the monthly active users that left PlayStation, how can PlayStation say that it's going to struggle and it can't compete? Look, it's bullshit, absolute bullshit. Cutie, I want to go to you, and I just want to talk a little bit about what you think about Call of Duty hurting Sony. Do you think it's going to damage them so significantly that they won't be able to compete in this market, especially considering that they have some of the best, and it has to be said, some of the best studios in the business?
I honestly don't think it's going to hurt them as much as they think. And I think Microsoft have gone through every single argument with a fine-tooth comb to try and reassure them. I think in the beginning it wasn't necessarily about making them look bad. It was about saying, hey, we really do stand by gaming for everyone, and everyone is a part of it. And Phil Spencer understands that Sony is an important part of the gaming ecosystem, and I don't think he's ever wanted to, burn those bridges. And he said it before. He said it in January. He said they intend to honour all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship. They also value players a lot more than Sony does, evidently, and it's very evident in that document, obviously, by the number of times Sony was mentioned versus the consumers. I don't think it's going to hurt them as much as they think, because I honestly think they're just scared of what's going to happen if Call of Duty was on Game Pass. That it's almost like and potentially it is their lack of experience in that area. I think they think that no one will actually buy it. So look,
yeah, I think that
this is a really long. It's a really long, drawn out process. But I will say that Microsoft are the only ones who have an actual website dedicated to this, explaining everything and responding to every single update that comes through from the CMA, including links to every tweet that they've mentioned things in, every single, press release. And I think their general transparency will be the thing that gets them over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sappho made a really good point in the chat there. I'm going to say she, because I'm not entirely sure. She said the problem is that PlayStation has left the responsibility for multiplayer games to their third parties, and they focused on those single-player games, and that is why they are doing this. And I personally think they know that this deal is going to go through. I think we all think it's going to go through. I think they think it's going to go through. I think they're just fighting back with what they can and what they have, and they've hooked a fish, right? They've hooked a fish in the CMA, and it's going to buy them time. And the more time that they can buy, the better for them. Gives them a chance to develop these games to fight back. But look, there was something else that Xbox mentioned in their report that I wanted to kind of highlight here. It says the referral decision states the CMA has received evidence that COD has higher levels of usage, engagement, revenue spend on PlayStation than the parties estimated, without providing further details. Sony's obvious self-interest in this case means that its submissions must be carefully scrutinized. That is lawyer speak for Sony. You're full of shit. And
that is also Microsoft dropping the hammer down. Like, this is playing out publicly, but wow, that is a powerful statement that Microsoft just made there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just happy that a lot of this is being exposed out loud, by the way. Sorry, I'm just saying that I'm happy all of this is the gloves have come off, as people will say, because now we have no need of this whole kumbaya play along nice game thing that we're doing before.
Look, the thing is look when Sony came in the industry, they recognized that Nintendo and Sega was dominating the industry. What they do, they came in and spent $48 million on Psygnosis, which was a publisher. They had the Wipeout collection. They had the Formula One series. They had the what was that? What's that? Destruction Derby. They had a whole lot of games. They brought that, and then they went and spent money with 250 different publishers and gaming companies to get content. And what happened? They got Madden, EA exclusive to PlayStation. Well, yeah, exclusive because it wasn't on Sega and Nintendo no more. You know what I'm saying? And
Same thing with Namco. They did it with Namco too, with Tekken.
What Sega do? They went and created the 2K series, 2K football, 2K basketball. 2K basketball.
What are you trying to say, that maybe Sony should invest less money in all these really ridiculous lawyers and put more money into developing something that can compete?
Exactly. And I want to reiterate this from what I said earlier. If your community say you have the best developers in the world, bar none, then they should have the ability to do that. Because when you say something is the best, you're the best overall. You're not just the best at single player, third person over the shoulder games. When you say you're the best at the whole palette, meaning that no matter what you need to do, if it's single player, multiplayer, whatever, your studio should be able to facilitate content to meet your customers' demand.
Not only that, post up, but if you are truly the best, then don't need to money had anything.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But I have heard what QD just stated in terms of, or what the person in the chat just stated. I have heard PlayStation fans saying Sony don't need to worry about multiplayer games. They can leave that up to third party. All they have to do is focus on their single player over the shoulder games. And look where it's got them, because no one expected Microsoft to get behind gaming like they have. No one expected this. And now that Microsoft money is behind, it's a whole different playing field.
Exactly, and now they've got something to worry about, and they're behind that. Sorry, Pete, I'll go straight to you after. They're behind the 8 ball with these multiplayer games, and that's why I keep saying this is just a play and a clever play. You can't take it away from them. From Sony to buy time so they've got time to get these studios up and running and get these games as a service up and running so they can put them in their service so that they can compete with Game Pass. Pete, sorry to cut you off there, buddy.
No, that's fine, mate. I just wanted to make one more point to the point that you made earlier, Riskit, when you read that statement about the self-interest that Sony has that needs to be heavily scrutinized by the CMA. Microsoft really went on with that and dropped the hammer down even further when they're basically outright accusing Sony of falsifying the data that they sent to the CMA, or they're saying that they're getting more COD revenue than they sent, and that means that they're illegally taking more of a revenue from it. So that is really powerful stuff, and love that it's being played out publicly. Love how hard the hardball game Microsoft is playing, and yeah, look, I just want to see more. I love it.
Pete, on that, so I've been actually reading a little bit about how the CMA actually functions, and who's on the panel and all of that kind of stuff. This is just the phase 1 investigation. And at this point, this is the, these are just the provisional findings. Like, these are just, the public is allowed. They have to publish this publicly so that the other people can respond and the CMA can consider that in their decisions. So I know people might think, our opinions don't matter and, no one's listening or whatever, but they are, and it is actually part of the investigation. And I think someone in the chat said, is it really 2027? It could be, considering this is only just phase 1.
No, the deal won't close in 2027, but they market it, if Sony accepts the deal that Microsoft is offering, on top of what they already have signed with Activision Blizzard, it will be 2027 before you see a COD on, or a new COD on Game Pass.
On Game Pass, that's correct, because that is the contracts up until then.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we know that? We know that it goes to 20, we do know that.
Yeah, okay. they literally stated it. Microsoft stated it in this 38-page response. But look, if you guys, we'll move on to the next topic in a minute, but I just want to say, if you guys don't know, in phase 1, they don't bring in specialized panels. So this is the CMA itself, its internals going through this deal and making judgments. In phase 2, they do bring in specialized panel of people who understand the industry, understand business and all that sort of thing. So you may see a completely different take moving forward, when we get to, I believe it was March, and they give their final findings. So I wouldn't put too much stock into what the CMA has laid out just now. They are putting a little bit too much stock into Sony's opinion and its concerns. So I think it's just a bit of a wait and see. I don't think that this deal can be stopped, in any way, meaningful way, unless it, like Pete said, it becomes a political thing. But you also have to look at this, and I hate to carry on about the CMA too much, but you also have to look at what's going to happen to Activision Blizzard if this deal doesn't go through. And I'll 100%, this is my opinion, but what I think will happen is Bobby Kotick will go into, emergency. He wants his golden parachute. He wants his money. He wants out the door. He will break that company down. I guarantee you he will start selling off pieces of Activision Blizzard to companies like Tencent, possibly Sony, possibly Embracer. Whoever's going to come with the money, they will break that company down into bits and sell it off. And that's not going to be a good thing for their games, for their studios, for their workers, or for gaming, in my personal opinion. I don't want to see Activision Blizzard broken down. We just got one of the most amazing CODs we've ever seen. And I think that would probably damage COD, among other games and possibly IPs that we haven't seen. But look, guys, I will move on I will move on to the next topic. Before I do, if you're new here, guys, please hit the subscribe button. If you've just joined us, hit the like button. Share it out. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. Look, we'll move on to the games of the week. I am going to segue into the COD campaign because, look, I've been playing this, and I think I've only got a few missions left to go. I've been solidly just biting into this game. It's amazing. Man, it is absolutely amazing. And guys in the chat, just so you know, if you haven't played the campaign, at the back end of the show, at around about an hour and a half, I think we're an hour in, I'm going to have some COD gameplay, and it's going to be the first intro and then the first mission. That's all I've recorded. So if you don't want to see it, don't watch. But it is beautiful. I was absolutely stunned. I don't think anyone's jumped in this game and hasn't been absolutely stunned by how beautiful the game is. Like it's a first-person shooter. Not traditionally games that are first-person shooters are beautiful. And we've had a few like I can't think of the. Oops, excuse me. Someone tried to call me in the middle of the damn podcast. I can't think of the game.
Yeah, don't they know who you are?
Exactly. The Crytek. Yes, Crytek. I mean, they've made a beautiful first-person shooter, but you don't often see them. And look, man, I cannot. This is a return to form. The missions are varied. They're very different. Some are stealth, some are all-out attack. You know, you've got, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's different variations of how you play. It just reminds me of Modern Warfare 2 of old. It really, really does. Sony's calling Themba. Yeah, they're trying to stop the show. Shit, stop it. Look, I'll go to you, Post Up. Have you had a chance to play COD? And if you have, what do you think? If you haven't, what do you think of what you've seen?
I haven't got a chance to play COD. I haven't even purchased it yet. But I saw one of my buddies playing it on Twitch stream earlier, and it looks incredible. Graphically, it looks very, very impressive. So I think that kind of edged me to go and purchase it. I like playing the campaign. I'm not too much into the multiplayer that much. The last two prior to Vanguard, I beat the campaign. So from what I saw, I'm definitely probably purchase it after this and pull it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter with some of the stuff that I've been sharing and other people have been sharing. Like, damn, I'm going to go pre-order this so I can play it. Pete, I know you've been playing it. What are your thoughts so far? What do you think about COD? Is it for you? I know that you're not really a COD guy. And I know you played a little bit of the multiplayer in that. We spoke on it, in a previous show, that it's not really your thing, but you're coming around. But what do you think of the campaign? Is there something there for you as a stealth player? We know you love to play stealth.
Okay, so I'm not a Call of Duty guy when it comes to multiplayer. I much prefer the way Halo does it. I think the time to kill in COD and the camping, it gets to me, and I think it always will. In terms of the campaign, but I've always loved COD campaigns. I mean, they're just awesome to play. They always are. However short they are, they're fantastic to play. My jaw dropped when I first turned on this game. I think it's the most beautiful game that I've ever seen. The textures on the rocks, the way the light bounces off various materials, whether it be metal, whether it be mesh, it's just drop dead gorgeous. The sound design is flawless. The way the weapon sounds, the recoil mechanics of the guns just feel 100% right. You can play it in 120 hertz mode. I will say that I found one negative. When I was playing it on 120 hertz mode and I went into the cutscenes, I felt that the lip syncing was off a little bit, and I wasn't sure if what I was seeing was actually there. So I then went back, turned off 120 hertz mode, and I do believe that there's a little bit of an issue with the lip syncing in 120 hertz mode. In saying that, everything else is just it's flawless, and like you said, Riskit, the variety of missions is just great. So the first mission, you're sniping people, and then you'll the next mission, when you go to Amsterdam, you start under the water, and you're using throwing knives, and you're using stealth tactics, and you're only allowed to use a pistol underwater. Just magical. Absolutely magical. I highly recommend it. It doesn't matter how short it is. Call of Duty is an experience, and I think everyone should go out and get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think if you're not a multiplayer player of COD, like, it is definitely worth the price of entry for the campaign. Look, I'm going to skip over Umber and Cutie on this one because I know you guys haven't played it, but I'm going to go to games that you have played because there's a lot that's come out this week. It's finally happening. The floodgates have opened. and we've got games, and I haven't had enough time to play games, and that hasn't happened. And that's not because I haven't got the time. That's just because I've got too many games to play, and that hasn't happened for quite some time. So I'm stoked. Gotham Knights dropped, and it broke both of its legs when it landed. It did not stick the landing, from what I've heard. I haven't played it, but people are not very forgiving with this 30 FPS mode, the lack of a 60 mode. I personally was going to buy this game. I was looking forward to playing it. I'm not now. I'm hoping that they throw a patch in there. But Cutie, you have played Gotham Knights, and I just wanted to get your thoughts. And you've been playing on PC, so I'm interested in what the performance is like there, and just the game overall. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that the story of this game is quite well written. The dialogue could use some work. The environment is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Ambitious. I'm finding a lot in it compared to the environment, the hero, the gameplay. There are some really big disconnects, and my PC is pretty good. It's not the most powerful out there, but there is a massive, massive disconnect between the cutscenes, which there are quite a lot of, and when I'm fighting and when I'm moving around the city. The photo mode is trash, absolute trash. Those are just my first thoughts. And I'm not playing on a console, I'm playing on my computer. So, and I've gone through the settings and I've set it to as high as I can, and it's just, it could have been so good. It really could have been. And I'm disappointed a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty scathing. I've heard someone was just saying in the chat there, I think it was KY Bob, that the frame rate was falling to 17 frames per second on the Series X. That just
I don't know where I'm getting 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
It was like I was transported back to 2017. And, maybe if this game was, and I said this before to you, Riskit, I said, if this game was released in 2017, it'd be an absolute banger. But we're not in 2017, and we have the technology to make these games great again.
Saw somebody on the gameplay from the PC that were playing on a 3080 or a 3090 or whatever, and it was having issues then.
I have a 38.
25 frames and such. Yeah. Oh, you have a 3080?
Mine's 3060, I think.
Okay.
I think it's going to take at least a year before they optimize this game. That's how poorly optimized it is.
Yeah, Boba, I'm there with you. 10-minute opening cinematic. The amount of cutscenes in the game, there is a lot. Okay, and it's interesting if you're a really big, Arkham universe, Batman. If you love that, you're going to have a great time. You really are. But if you're someone who enjoys mostly how, if the gameplay is more important to you than the story, then you probably are going to have to want to wait for a sale. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't pay full price for this game. From what I've seen with people dropping frames down to 17 frames per second on the Series X, and even on PC, the performance is apparently terrible. It just speaks to the fact that what they were saying earlier, and the developer said regarding the 30 frames per second, she said, I know many of you are wondering about the availability of performance mode for Gotham Knights on consoles due to the types of features we have in our game. Oh, shit. Oh, excuse me. I had to sneeze. Like providing a fully untethered co-op experience in our highly detailed open world. Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. I'm getting a bit of a cold. It's not as straightforward as lowering the resolution and getting a higher FPS. For this reason, our game does not have performance quality. Look, I think I said in my sneeze there, bullshit. Like, I 110% understand. It's not as easy as lowering the resolution. I get that. There would be heaps more other optimizations that would need to happen. However, you have the tools. Like, I'm not going to get going on FSR 2.0 because it really peeves me off. But FSR 1, there's plenty of tools within the PlayStation and in the Xbox that you can use to optimize these games. Now, I did hear someone say that it's lazy development. I made a video on early in the week and they said it's lazy development. I don't think so. I don't think it's lazy development. But you got to remember these studios are massive. They're massive beasts, especially when it comes to Warner Brothers. They have deadlines they have to hit. There's cost versus, versus profit versus revenue. That sort of stuff is what the suits look at. And when you've had enough time to make a game that they think you've had enough time, that game's coming out. If it's running, the suits are going to go, just get it out there and we'll patch it later on. This is something that I don't want to see from studios personally.
When I went through the settings and I wanted to put on ray tracing, and it didn't help. And when I think I was standing on a railroad track, and the train went past, and my character just was not having a good time. And like I said, there's a massive disconnect, but you can almost see the separation between your hero, the fighting, and the environment, and it's really
jarring,
really noticeable.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I want to quantify this. I haven't played the game, Cutie, like you have, but I have spoken to a few people that have played it. I spoke to Devastator, and there's a couple of things that he really mentioned that stood out. And I also watched Lemon's stream earlier just to get a feel for the game as well. So there's no lock-on mechanic. There's no parrying system like they have in the Arkham series. That's probably the most fun thing. So when someone's attacking you from behind, you press the parry button, you'll instantly parry. It's one of the coolest things in the game. So I don't understand why they've gone that way with combat. It makes absolutely no sense. So basically all you're doing is jumping in and out. The flow of combat of the Arkham series is what made it so incredibly fun to play. When you're getting those 100-hit combos, when you're in the flow and everything's sped up to the nth degree, that is when Arkham just shines. I cannot understand for the life of me why they've taken that out. Why have they chosen to take away the fun out of the gameplay that was there? Even when you're hitting people, you could feel it when Batman hit the enemies. It just feels like it's a light tap.
Yeah, on that note, Pete, I completely understand where his statement is coming from, because I played Batgirl and she's very athletic and very flamboyant in her fighting style, and it's really enjoyable. But you know what happens? I will press the button to make her move, or a special move, whatever it is, and all of a sudden I'm out of control of the character. It's almost like I feel unsatisfied when I hit an enemy. I feel like I just wanted more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And Devastator also mentioned when you get on your motorbike, frame rate issues that come with that are incredibly jarring and almost to the point of being unplayable.
Yeah.
That clip that's out, Pete, it shows it. It shows it on a 3090. It shows them on a motorbike and on a motorcycle, whatever, and it slows down crazy. Yeah, the bed cycle slows down crazy.
Is very difficult to even see where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Series S has lower resolution, correct? I heard the frames run a little better on there with the lower resolution. I don't know.
I'm not too sure.
I didn't know this game was going to be like this. I think this is an example of when you're building a game on last gen technology, because no way this game should be running like that, or the loading times being like that, or having to load when you're going in and out of buildings, if you're taking advantage of the IO systems on all three of the systems, because the PC is starting to support the same IO systems as the PlayStation 5 and the Series X.
Mm-hmm.
It's no way, if you're taking advantage of those IO systems, that you should be having these issues with this game. And I just think it's a game that started on last gen tech.
It did. It's Unreal Engine 4. It's
And
not
they
real.
only
It's not.
just
There you go.
removed
There
last
you go.
generation a month ago, 2 months ago. So they were
That's
actively
correct.
still making it for last gen until very
Ah.
recently. And I'll
Yeah.
also point out another thing, and I'm not sure if it was Skill Up or ACG. I watched both their reviews. They suggested that this game was meant to be a live service game, and they came to that conclusion by how many different types of like monetary systems they actually in the game,
I can
and
see
how many
that.
different costumes and stuff. And I think after the disaster of Marvel Avengers, they've backtracked on that. All those things are still in the game. All those different types of currencies and all the
Ah.
different
It's
ways to
even-
change your outfits are
Yeah.
still there, and it just feels disjointed.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
there you go.
part of that issue too is definitely them trying. It was clear they were trying to make it cross-gen, and I think that's
There
part of
you
the
go.
issues for them. Yeah, it's the same thing we had with Halo. If you all really look at it, trying to appease
guys
the
are-
past gen situation
Yeah.
that led to a lot of issues for Halo, and I think it's the same thing here. It seems like they got a little directionless and messed up.
Yeah.
It seems like, and they can't
It
blame
didn't
I
have
the,
think
enough
look,
time.
they, look,
the
they had a
potato
date.
Series S. The problem is that it, like you all pointed out, it seems to be, the potato ain't the problem. It seems to be there's some optimization issues going on the end. I don't think they're lazy developers. I just think they didn't properly plan things out. You know what I mean? And because I loved Origins, by the way. So, but I agree with you, Pete. Don't fix what's not broken. They should have left the combat the way it was, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think
you
I
say
feel,
they
I think
just
I think
recently dropped the last gen systems? Like,
Yep.
recently?
They dropped
literally
them
2 months ago, I
Yeah,
think.
and they have enough
Maybe.
time to. Yep. Well,
I
don't blame it
think
on
they
the
just
Series
had.
S.
I think they had deadlines. I think they had deadlines that they had to meet.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough.
Mhm.
But they really should. Why would they building it on Unreal Engine 4? That's
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
I don't think
look-
Unreal Engine 4 is the problem. Unreal
What?
Engine is a proper running engine. It's a great engine. I think the problem is
But
them
why
trying to
use last
optimize for last
gen?
gen. I think that's the problem.
I
And I
think
mean, I get why
should,
they
yeah.
would do it. I get why. I mean, it's hundreds of millions of people still on last gen, so I get it. But I think their lack of commitment to that and trying to appease both is what caused the issue
Well,
ultimately.
I think what happened there is that they were trying to run it on last gen hardware and they couldn't get it happening. And this does speak to it definitely does speak to the fact that it's not optimized, and that is the issue. I mean, the developers over at Callisto Protocol took aim at the game, and they said, "We would love to inform you all that we will be shipping globally on December 2nd, and yes, we'll have a 60 FPS performance mode." And then the God of War developers, Santa Monica, came out and said, like, these guys are taking aim, and they're not feeling. I mean, I don't think we should feel sorry for them because other developers in the industry aren't feeling sorry for them. Even though there was that one guy that came out, a developer from Rocksteady, and called the Series S a potato. And when we find out that the Series S actually runs the game better because of the lower resolution, and they said that it won't run better with lower resolution, it's like, what the fuck is going on? It's like.
That guy did. The bad part is he doesn't even work for them. I think he worked for Rocksteady, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Rocksteady, yeah.
But he did them no favors by saying that. It brought more heat on them because of his statement.
Mm-hmm.
Or
I think
statements
when they
tweets.
went into the development process of this game before they even started doing anything, you had a choice between 60 and I think they chose 30 frames per second. I think that was their goal from the beginning, especially if they had last gen hardware in mind. But even with the 30 frames per second and what they was trying to do, I don't think the last gen hardware can cut it. So you get that out at the last minute. You don't have time to go in and fix the things that you want to do to get it where it's supposed to be. And what you do, you come out and blame the Series S. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
No, it's nuts. Like, anyway, and this is
I think I feel if they can patch it, it will be much better.
Yeah, I think they will. I think this this points to poor optimization. It just fully points to it, especially when you've seen the Dying Light developers, the actual developers, come out and blame the Series S, then put a patch in to run it at 60 FPS, then apologize. Like. It's just nuts. I think the devs sometimes will look for an excuse to say, "Hey, this is why we suck." But look, I'm really sorry. Warner Brothers Montreal, you guys suck. No, look, I'm not kidding. There would be 150 reasons why. Now, here's the other thing. that I wanted to talk about, which is kind of very much related. It's kind of not a shift of topic. It's very relatable. But Plague's Tale runs at 30 FPS, and the performance isn't 100% either. However, and there's been a lot of guys, I've seen people taking aim at Xbox players. You know, I don't know why it's a third-party game, but I've seen people taking aim at Xbox players saying, "Hey, you're not talking about how Plague's Tale runs, poorly, and is runs poorly on the Xbox. It's a Game Pass game, blah 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 blah." However, it's a very different type of game to Gotham Knights, so it's not as noticeable. It's a stealthy game. Slower game, bit of a slow burning game. So when you do have slowdown, it doesn't hurt you. Often that slowdown's not in combat, from what I've experienced. I'm only up to chapter 5. But look, personally, it really hasn't hurt this game. But I don't want to see games go to 30 FPS. I don't want this to be the standard. I want studios to prioritize 60 frames a second, at least as an option, right? And if you can't do that, don't make the game. But to be honest, when it comes to games like Plague's Tale, I'm loving this game. Look, and I'm going to go to the panel and throw it out there, and to our guest post up. Have you had a chance to play Plague's Tale? What do you think of it? What are your thoughts there with the 30 FPS? Umbra.
All right.
Yeah, for me, you're not Umbra. For me, the thing is with the thing about Plague Tale, that I said it before on I believe on Xbox Factor, or I forgot what it actually was on Spooky's podcast, and I said that the reason why I'll give a Plague Tale a little bit of leeway when it comes to that is because it's purposely set to be a slower paced, stealth based game in most regards. You can try to go gung ho, but it's not going to work out well for you in most cases. So typically the 30 frames isn't so much a deterrent or issue there with a Plague Tale, or 40 frames per second, or whatever it may be. It's not that much of an issue comparatively. When you look at Gotham Knights and you look at past games in the series, it's fast paced combat and all of that, and moving around fast, zipping around the city. So it's clearer. It's obviously much more clear from 60 to 30 from that. And that's the issue I have. And also I'll point out, a Plague Tale doesn't cost $70. If you're charging me $70, you're going to have to deliver me all those texts and specs and such too, right? And that's another issue I have with Gotham Knights. They're charging $70 and can't even deliver on 60 frames per second. And me personally, I'm not paying $70 for any game, $70 rather. But the problem is you're asking that of people, and then you deliver a technical mess, and it's not a good look at all. I'm sure they're going to optimize it, like you guys pointed out. But to release it like this, it's unfortunate. But for a Plague Tale, listen, I haven't had any issues personally, but I have heard that people on the Series S have had a few like stuttering issues. I know I will say on the Series X, there are lip sync issues, like you were pointing out for Modern Warfare, Pete. There are some in a Plague Tale if you paid attention to their faces as they talked and whatever in dialogue.
They're terrible, dude.
Yeah,
it's terrible. It's
off.
Some spots, some scenes are good. Like they're okay. You're like, oh, it's not bad. And you go to another scene and it's just wooden and really bad. Doesn't take you out of the story, but sorry to interrupt. Go continue. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. But yeah, it's just a matter of the lip sync issues. I've heard, well, you played it on the S2, right, Risk? So you would know more on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you tried it out on the S.
I don't know if it's the S that has the lip sync issues is terrible. Maybe
no,
it
not
is.
just lip sync. I'm talking about the other issues.
Oh
like
yeah,
issues.
The clipping, the draw distance. They've removed a lot of the foliage and sort of stuff. What you're seeing is on the S. So look, it's not terrible. And I did stream, the first hour of the game on the S as well, and it looks beautiful. And look, a lot of people that were in that chat were super impressed with the game on the S. On the X, it just takes on a new level. It's not terrible on the S by any means, but obviously it's always going to be a cut down experience. That's what you get when you've got a weak GPU. That's just what happens when it comes to, and this is what we talk about when we talk about scalability though, right? When you're talking about Gotham Knights, they could have scaled that game, and I don't care what they say. I'm sure it's not as simple as just cutting the resolution. There'd be other things you have to do. It's called optimization. You know what I mean? So that's what you do to get games running on weaker hardware. You optimize it, and you take out what you need to take out, but you leave the things in that are important. But Plague Tale's amazing. I've been loving it on the S, loving it on the X. There's not a massive amount of issues. I don't want to see it at 30 though, Umbra. Pete, what are your thoughts on on Plague's Tower. How are you finding it? I know that you're a big stealth man, so this should be hitting home for you.
Yeah, I think we said it at the start, both me and Umbra, that we believe that this is a contender for Game of the Year. I truly believe that. I'm loving every second of this game. It's the reason why I'm going to drop back out of Call of Duty, because I just want to continue playing this story. It's got its hooks into me. I'm absolutely loving it. In terms of the 30 FPS, I haven't even noticed it. And I think Palpatine made a great point in the chat that it feels smoother than other 30 FPS games. And I think Umbra made a great point as well when he suggests that it's because you're not really moving the camera around like you would be in Gotham Knights. It's a very slow-paced, stealth-oriented game, and so the 30 FPS doesn't really bother me that much. And look, it's a narrative-driven experience. I don't think it's as necessary. In saying that, it should be an option.
Yeah, agreed. I think it should be an option in every game. Post-op, have you had a chance to have a crack at Plague's Tale? If you have, what do you think? What are your thoughts on what you're seeing on screen if you haven't?
No, I haven't booted it up. I definitely had it pre-installed and stuff and ready to go. I would say for the type of game it is, the slower pace and more cinematic experience, 30 frames per second is for those cinematic experience. So I don't think it needs to be 60 frames because you're not moving or shooting like as if you was in Call of Duty where those frames matter. In this case, due to like the slower, more methodical pace and stealth-like, 30 frames per second is fine, but I think when you've experienced 60 frames and even 120 frames per second, you don't want to go back. So you want everything to be, especially when I first went from 60 to 120, I didn't want to go back to 6. I didn't want to go back to 60. You can feel the difference. So I think that's where the pushback is coming from. Now that people can notice and feel the difference between the two. But I think for that type of game where you don't got to run a gun and nothing like that, I think 30 frames per second is fine.
I agree.
Let
me ask you guys something, by the way, speaking on that. There's pretty much a hard stance some people have when it comes to 60 frames per second. I think like Post said, and like most of us agree, more filmic, as they would say, games like this, God of War, it kind of works, right? Or Last of Us, whatever, if you will. Last of Us more than God of War, I would say. But those games can work well with this because it's stylized, the way it's styled, the closer camera toward the body and all of that. So do you think, though, for this gen, and I know it's probably going to be yes, but should the standard be 60 frames per second always? Should it be a hard stance for that, and that we are not allowing them to give us 30 frames per second games?
Yes, there should always be an option for 60. And look, in saying that, there are certain games that need it more than others. I think Plague Tale is one of those. Like I said before, it doesn't particularly need it, but there should always be options. Options are key. If you want to play it at 30 at 4K, go for it. If you want to play it at 1440p at 60, the option should be there. I think eventually it will come, but I think another big point to make when it comes to Plague's Tale is I'm not paying $70 for it. In fact, I'm not paying for it at all. It's on Game Pass.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that is a valid point.
Sorry, Game Pass congregation, say Game Pass.
I've seen a lot of gameplay from Plague Tale. Obviously, I haven't jumped into it just yet, but it does look good. And yeah, you're right. It is a slower game, obviously, compared to other games that are out. But in saying that, they didn't use Unreal Engine at all. It's their own
proprietary engine. Yeah,
it's their own engine. But they can have, I think it's 6,000 rats on the screen, without it damaging the gameplay at all. So it actually performs better than Unreal Engine 4. So I think that's it's obviously just better than that in general. It was built
specifically for Plague Tale, wasn't it, Q?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Yeah, I mean, it is good to have. I mean, Pete brought this up a few podcasts back, and I do remember it. And I, at the time, disagreed with it, but I actually have started to come around to Pete's way of thinking. Someone shoot me. But he did say that he doesn't like to see all these these developers go to one engine and use that one engine. He likes to see, and I'm sorry if I'm putting words in your mouth,
I'm
Pete.
recording this.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm putting words in your mouth, Pete. But look, some proprietary engines are just miles ahead of even other standard engines like your Unities, etc. And yeah, I agree with Pete that if they're optimizing their engines, it's not hurting their development. I would like to see more proprietary engines be able to deliver what Plague's Tale has delivered. But Umbra, I 110% think that every single game should have the options. Some games will work at 30. I can understand that. I can agree with that. But the options should be there for the player. You always want to give options to the player. And what you guys said about Game Pass is 110% true. If you're not paying for it, it just gives you a whole different. You value that game differently. It really is true. Yeah,
true.
You don't complain. You're like, I paid 100 in Australia. I paid 120 for 30 FPS. No, but Game Pass, it's just not like that. So
you're right. Mm-hmm. And what happens to the compromise, by the way? Like Gray pointed out, what happens to like the 1080p and 60 frames per second? Why aren't we getting those options? I'll play a game in 1080p. Mm-hmm. I'll much prefer that than not getting it in 60. I don't understand why we don't have compromises like that more often.
Well, that's the thing as well. I don't want to get going on FSR again, but FSR can upscale a game. I honestly crack on about FSR constantly, but like FSR can upscale a game from 1080p to 1440p, giving you a higher resolution and more frames per second. Why aren't they using it? It's just nuts to me. Why would you release a game in this day and age without FSR? Almost every PC game that is AAA runs FSR 2.1 right now. But even these games should be running 1.0, but some of them aren't. It's just nuts. Like, what are you doing?
Aren't they not using like something else too, right, Risk, that they're not even really touching on right now?
Yeah, VRR. They're not using that either.
Like what's going on with that? Like the tool's supposed to be tooling right now. What's going on?
Yeah, well, they're available for developers to use. They're just not using them.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't use do what other developers are doing with the 40 frames per second and using VRR to take it up to 120.
Exactly.
I'm surprised they didn't give that option, I mean, options is the key.
You do use it, like on Doom Eternal. I mean, that's perfect case in point. You have every mode available to you because they are using those tools.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Absolutely. It may clean up some of the stuttering and the frame rate. Well, it will clean up a lot of that stuttering and the frame rate issue. That's crazy that they ain't.
Yeah, I mean, there's other tools that are available in the AMD tools. Even PlayStation has them available. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it basically works where it will render what you're looking at and semi-render everything around you. And then everything out in the world's not rendered, and it feeds it from the SSD to the GPU and back to the CPU in real time, saving like a ridiculous amount, giving you a ridiculous amount of overhead. VRS, that's the one. Yeah, and they're not using that either. It's like what are these developers doing, man? Use the tools. Spend the extra 6 months to use the tools to give you a perfectly optimized game. They're there for you to use. It's crazy. Guys in the chat, you've been absolutely amazing today. Really appreciate every single one of you. We've had 100 in the chat. 101 right now. Woo! We crossed the 101 mark. Guys, you've been amazing. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you are new here, we appreciate every single one of you, and I am trying to get back and respond and say good day to everyone in the chat. We got Crazy Louie in the chat, KY Bob, Mr. Joanna Dark, how you doing? Talos Ree, all you guys are champions. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. We'll move on to the next topic, which is a bit of a hot topic and one that's a little bit charged, but I'm gonna open this one up with a caveat, my favorite word, right? I hate Platinum Games, and I hate Platinum Games because I hate Hideo Kamiya. I don't like the man. I think he's an arrogant prick. And you don't treat gamers the way that he treats gamers. And before any of this happened, I already didn't like the man. If you can't speak to, like, has the guy not heard of Google Translate? I mean, you can hit the translate button in Twitter. His rules are if you don't speak Japanese to him, he calls you an insect and he will block you immediately.
What?
That is just a dick move. Like, yeah, absolutely. You speak English to him in his timeline, he will block you immediately. And he calls people who do that insects, which to me, I'm not going to get deep into that one. But look, what's happened, and let's not forget Scalebound. Now, Scalebound, they took Xbox money and developed 3 other games and never gave them a Scalebound. Like, Platinum Games to me is like scum of the industry. I don't think you get lower. I don't want a Platinum Games. Everyone keeps saying, give us another Scalebound. Yeah, absolutely. Don't let Platinum Games touch it. So look, a report came out, or a tweet came out from one of the voice actors on Bayonetta 3. And she very basically said that they offered her $4,000 for the entirety of the game to voice act the entirety of Bayonetta 3. And she felt they weren't respecting her craft. She asked people to boycott the game. I think that's going a little bit too far. I would boycott Platinum Games because I just don't like him. As I said before, prick. Anyway, the report, another report came out, and I think Bloomberg, Jason Schreier, released some information about it. He did a bit of digging. And so the report said Taylor asked for a six-figure sum as well as residuals on the game. Then she was then offered a cameo role in the game for a single session at a rate of $3,000 to $4,000. We don't know what went on behind the scenes of this one. But what we do know is that Platinum Games has a history of being, I'm not going to say the word again, but being a specific way, right? We also know that, voice actors don't work flat out throughout the year. So they're kind of paid for the time that they work, the time that they kind of have off in between gigs, and their talent, and they're also paid for their history. Obviously your history is going to give you your rate. This woman has voiced Bayonetta from day one. I think asking for a six-figure sum might be an overstep, but I think asking for residuals on the game, I don't think it's an overstep. I think if you've done a good job and the game's successful, and your voice, your acting has fed into that success, you should be remunerated for that. I don't think that that's unfair. However, the lady seems a little bit difficult to deal with just from the tweets and the videos that I've watched. So it's very nuanced, this one. I'm going to throw it to you, Post Up, and just look, did you get a chance to check this out? And you've obviously just found out that Hideo Kamiya will block you if you speak English to him on his Twitter. What do you think of the whole debacle?
Well, I saw a little bit. I ain't really get too deep into this. I saw the video when she first came out, and then I saw when the guy from Platinum kind of tweeted about it, and then next thing you know, his Twitter account was gone. I just think that the voice actor saw what they made in terms of what they 450 million, and that's without merchandising and all that stuff. She wanted in. She wanted a payday.
You wanted a slice.
I need to get a little bit more. I need to get a little bit more of this pie. Now, y'all got enough to go around. You know what I'm saying? So me asking for six figure, knowing y'all just made 450 million, and that's without merchandising. Come on now. But I don't know. She might have overstepped. She might have overstepped a bit, but I don't blame her for trying, though. Get your money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it doesn't hurt to ask. It kind of speaks. It kind of speaks to me that like she is what I'm kind of feeling, and it's just a feeling. I don't really know anything. 110%. Hey, like I don't know, but I feel that she might be slightly difficult to deal with.
Look, I don't. Look, I mean, when you're in that industry, you are going to come across people who are. Show diva attitude, and they know their worth, and they're not afraid to ask for what they want. And I look, they could have. I mean, I don't know if they did, but they could have come back with a rebuttal. Like okay, well, you would like this. Okay, we can bump it up more to
counter offer or something like that.
Yeah. So I haven't.
A bit harsh, Judy. I mean,
no. I didn't call her a diva. I said that there are people with diva attitudes at times because of the industry that they work in, and they know their worth, and they're confident about their kind of the creativity and things like that they bring to these roles.
She is Bayonetta to me, and she has made that character her own, and so I think she has the right to demand.
So she deserves $1 million.
A certain amount of wage, and I think that wage should be higher than a regular voice actor. But there's two sides to every story, and
Yes.
I don't know which one is right. I don't know if they've offered her 4,000 like she suggests, or if they've offered her what is it 15,000 that like they came back and said that they offered her. I
Mm.
don't know. I don't know what the regular going rate for voice actors is, so I
But
don't know
that's what I
if
was
either
gonna
of
ask.
those are good. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask. Do you think she overvalued herself in terms of the importance of her being the voice of Bayonetta? And then they come out and say, okay, you don't want to play ball. Well, we're gonna bring this person in and they'll do the voice acting. Do
I
you think
wondered
she
that too.
wasn't if she wasn't expecting that they was gonna feel like, man, I'm the voice of Bayonetta. They just can't easily replace me. So they should,
I think
They have
that's
to.
in
it for
terms of
They got
sure,
to.
value.
post up, and and I also want to say that Mr. Joanna Dark made a great point that both Bayonetta 1 and 2 didn't really sell that well, and he
Mm,
goes on to say that Nintendo now have an exclusivity deal with Bayonetta 3, so I dare say the budget for that game would be heavily reduced.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
So
okay,
my
there
th-
you
my
go.
my thinking. I see what Mr. Joanna says. The SAG union actors, the minimum is
Mm.
2,000 for work. I'm of two minds of it, or of several minds, I suppose. The thing that gets me is for her to go scorched earth like that and to put that out there like that.
Yeah.
To me, it must speak to either one or two things. Either she was too fed up with what they did to her that she said, "Nah, I'm going to say something about this," or maybe she overstepped and said, "I'm going to use the court of public appeal and say these things and have them canceled," essentially, right? Because they have a bad reputation a lot of times, Kamiya and such. So maybe that she used that in her favor or tried to use it in her favor. I don't know, but she's a veteran voice actress. She's been doing it for a while, although her biggest roles have been Bayonetta. So it's been Bayonetta 1 and 2, and would I guess a bit of 3 before she was replaced. So I don't know. I don't know how to really what we can because we so much we don't know about it either anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to go with that. But what I will say is that I don't trust Kamiya like Risk was saying. I don't dislike them as much, but I don't trust them and I don't trust Platinum Games. So I'm already leaning toward her side just because they seem shady enough. You know what I mean? Especially what they pulled with Scalebound. So if they, I don't know. Look at what they did with Scalebound. Let's point that out. Let's not ignore that. Is it
She was
is it
willing to put her
beyond is it
career on the
is
line, though.
yeah, but is it beyond belief to think that they might pull a shady move toward a voice actress? I don't think it is. Not after they did this to a mega, billion-dollar corporation. So I don't know. I can't say one way or another. But what I
Yeah, I
will
think
say
they're
is maybe
different.
her asking, maybe it may sound a little ridiculous, maybe. But I think that's off. She's probably going off past the past situation as well, because I don't think she was paid that much from previous work in
Yeah, so
compared to
going
now.
off what Mr.
So
Joanna Dark said, and he said that the standard rate going rate is $2,000. I think she's definitely worth more than double that because she's created that
Hmm.
character, and it is the third game in the franchise. Do you
Right.
think? And I'll just throw this out to whoever wants to answer. Do you think she's worth the 15,000 that they suggested that they offered her? And what do you think would be a good figure and a reasonable figure for the character?
We'll
She's
say she's
milking.
worth more than that. Yeah, absolutely, she's worth more than that for the franchise because even the Japanese see her as the definitive version of the voice. There's no question. Like, and it's very rare that Japanese people see anyone outside of the Japanese actor or actress as that voice. They see her as the voice, like definitively. So that speaks volumes as to how beloved her voice is. Also, I have to ask, how did they replace her with Jennifer Hill? Wouldn't Jennifer Hill bring in a bigger price? That's confusing to me because Jennifer Hill is widely known, much more popular than her, has been in tons of projects. I'm pretty sure she fetches a big price.
Great
So
minds
what's
think
the case
alike.
here?
Mr. Joanna Dark said the exact same thing right as you said it, mate.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a great minds think alike. So that's the thing that confuses me. How did they get Jennifer Hill, legendary Jennifer Hill, the female voice of Shepard, and so many other characters? How did they get her? Did she
Yeah.
just say, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do this little side project or whatever for the 15,000 or 20,000 for a few hours or something"? I don't know. That's why I said we
Definitely
don't have enough
suggests to
information,
me
really.
there's something going on in the background. because you're right, they would have probably had to have paid her more. So there's definitely a divide there, and something stressing that relationship more than we know. And I think you pointed it out perfect when you called it scorched earth tactics. That's exactly what it was. It's very rarely seen that it's played out in the public eye like this, and I think she was trying to get that public sentiment behind her.
Yeah, well,
She was willing to put her career on the line.
Exactly.
That had to be something.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It's pretty much career suicide, right? She's, like everyone's going to be a little bit more cautious about taking her on. Like, yeah, man. So when you kind of look at it that way, you've got to think, hey, maybe there's something to this. Maybe there's something behind this, and that they were under offering her, and that it's yeah. I can't see a person destroying their career over such a basically lying about it or feeling, she must have felt a serious way about it. Look, I'm going to move on from the topic because, again, I'm going to jump to Cutie, though, because Cutie, you were going to say something a little bit more on the topic, and then we'll move forward.
Look, it's I just want to reiterate that I didn't say she was a diva, Pete. I didn't say that. I said you're dealing with creative people, and creative people, as we all know, can be a little bit dramatic, and especially when you're in a character and you feel attached to that character, you're going to feel your worth, and you're going to have fans, and that's going to obviously add to those feelings about your character. So I understand, sending a message to pay voice actors their, correct money, and, she's now part of the union and all of that stuff. And yes, they should be part of that. In my line of work, I'm part of a union as well. It's just the right thing to do to protect yourself. So no, I hope that she gets what she requires for her life and for her career.
I hope she gets a job.
I thought you were about to say deserves.
No. I hope that her career goals align with her self-worth in the future.
Yeah.
Man, look, I hope that she gets a good position I hope she continues her career if she's validated. The thing is, though, I don't know where this leads. And like me and Pete were saying, we don't know enough, but to say she could have been playing up to public, the public to get them to react, to get us to react away. And it wouldn't be that hard because of the reputation that Platinum has, that for us to say, yeah, they did it wrong. No, or hell, I'll just be honest. Most ladies, when they come out and say this person did me wrong, most people are going to side with them off jump. So who's to say? But for her to go scorched earth like that, like I said, that's the only thing that seems weird to me, that she would say, oh yeah, I'm just going to throw my entire career away. But then you look at it and you say, well, she only has Bayonetta 1 and 2, really. So is that really scorched earth for her? It's not much she's given up.
She's only been in the industry, 6 years, 7 years? So, but, and you know what? Any news is good news.
Saying Riskit is a diva. I 100% agree with that.
He's deleted from the chat. Look, we'll move on from this topic because it's pretty loaded. And at the end of the day, as I think every single one of us has pointed out, we don't really know what went on behind the scenes. We can assume that if someone's going to destroy their career like this, which I hope she hasn't, and I hope she gets a job, that obviously Platinum and Prex. Anyway, moving on. Guys in the chat, you guys have been absolutely amazing. We got like 90 people in the chat. Really appreciate every single one of you guys coming through. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button. We'll move on to the next topic, very short topic, and then we'll move on to some PlayStation news, which is always exciting. Discord functionality is getting a major update, and the DVR has actually been updated as well. I am not all across the DVR on this one, I have to be honest. I know that they've increased the bitrate, and that's great. And I know that means a lot to streamers when I'm streaming. Bit rates is something that I deal with, so I kind of understand it from that point of view. But I don't think, by the way, if you're hearing that ding noise, that's me having ideas. Look,
cogs turning.
I don't think this is the update we've all been waiting for the DVR, but it's good to see that they're looking at it. When it comes to the Discord functionality, I actually have access to that, as I am. I'm an insider. I know Phil personally. We hang out on weekends, go fishing on his boat. No, we don't. But I'm an insider. And I've had a chance to check out the Discord last night with Cutie. I jumped in and just checked it out and see how it ran, how it worked with gaming whilst I was gaming and talking, etc., etc. And man, it is just as easy as jumping in an Xbox party. Very basically, the way it works is if you've linked your Discord account to Xbox, any servers that you are in that have voice chats, you will be able to access those, with the exception of private servers. Even if you have access to a private server, it seems that you cannot get into that private server from the Xbox. I think you might have to do that from Discord. So that's a possibility. I haven't tested out that functionality, but when it comes to functionality, man, it is a step up. And what I really hope that happens in the future is that PlayStation gets their Discord integration working so that we really can have this cross-play and in-party chats and hanging out with your mates. Because I do have a few friends, even though I hate to admit it, I'm a little bit ashamed, that play PlayStation. And I feel sorry for them every day. And I give them as much stick as I can. But I would love to be able to play Call of Duty with them and not be in those toxic game chats. So, look, going forward, I think this is a great move for Xbox. Post up, have you got a chance to check out the Discord functionality? What do you think about them working on the DVR? I think it's about time that we got some updates to this DVR. It is pretty disgraceful at this point that we're in this point in the generation and we don't have a DVR that's at least serviceable.
Yes, I got a chance to check it out today. And it's incredible. I mean, the ease of use. I think I had just installed NBA 2K23 and I was going through my setting up my player. And I went in. The only thing I experienced is that I was using my Xbox wireless headset, and when I did the deafening, where it mutes the audio and the mic, when I came back, there was a slight delay in terms of me being able to pick back up the audio that was in the voice channel. But I think once this come out better, they'll be able to clear that up. Other than that, this is the feature we needed. No more cell phones, no more PCs, and none of that. To be able to join all of your servers and the voice channel directly from the Xbox, directly from the guide menu. It is incredible, and I'm glad that it's here. And this came out of nowhere. I know they got a lot of flack for the cell phone being the middleman when they first initially announced this feature. But now that Discord has a API for consoles, which they didn't have at first, which I think that's why it took so long. Now they got the API. Hopefully they can take what they learned from the Xbox over to the PlayStation as well. But we ain't worried about them ponies over here. We got this feature first. They tried to flex on us for a minute. You know what I'm saying? They really tried to flex on us for a minute. But yeah, it's an incredible feature.
It is, man. It is. And it's strange because PlayStation announced it first.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and they flexed on us with it.
And they got nothing.
Tried to flex on it.
They got nothing. Don't worry.
Xbox better.
those friends I got over on PlayStation, they hear all about it all the time. Look, and Umbra, Pete, Cutie guys, jump in. Are you excited about this whole Discord feature? Because we all use Discord a bit. And I know Pete uses Discord for the show through the Xbox as well. So it could be quite helpful for Pete as well. He'll be able to shift around, do things, and check out other stuff. So what do you guys think of this feature coming to the Xbox?
I think Pete can speak more to this, much more than us. But I will say, just to say this, we did the experiment last week, Pete, as you know, with us all jumping on, what was it, 24 people plus into that Discord party for Halo community night and everything. That was crazy.
Exactly what I was going to say. So only 16 people are allowed in Xbox parties at any one time. And typically when we have a Halo game night, we get more than that, especially when J-Rock is hosting it. So, everybody comes in for Jay. So me and Hargeet basically did it, most of it himself, is the absolute man. Had to move everyone over to Discord. It was a tough process to actually set it up, to actually go in there, then find everybody through Discord, because you have to find their Discord profile. You can't do it through their Xbox profile, so it is a little bit convoluted at the moment. In saying that when it was actually set up, it ran flawlessly, it sounded better, and was absolutely amazing. So I absolutely love it. I hope that this integration makes it even more easier to use, so you can just do it directly through your Xbox. That would make things so much easier. The funny thing is we actually set up a specific Discord server just for when we do Halo game nights, so we do have all our friends there at the moment. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It should have been done that way initially. I'm glad they're finally getting to it. And oh yeah, I do use Discord straight through my Xbox when I'm doing the podcast, and it's going to be awesome when it's integrated more, because whenever Riskit's speaking, I can just play games.
Yeah, we've heard your thumbsticks moving before, Pete. We all know you use it while you
Just tune them on out, huh?
Disrespectful and churlish.
Pete, that's why you definitely invited me to the Discord, mate.
Just realized I could have been on my Xbox right now. He just
Yeah, but again, I'll just add, the thing is, you actually can't do it because you can't access private servers. So I couldn't be happier. Thank you, Xbox. I appreciate it. I've got my boys
I think, Pete,
focusing
all
on the
your
show.
issues that you've been having, all the issues you guys have been having, is simply a user thing. Like if you're simply a console person and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've got to use like Discord, I've got to like make a thing, I've got to add all these people. Like, it's going to be a process. But I think, the second, third time that's done, you guys will have a much better time.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely simple now, Cutie. All you need to do is make a Discord server for yourself, and then you straight out the guide. It's like joining a party. It's that easy.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. So, it's a process to set up your Discord, but I advise everyone to do it because honestly, and the quality of the chat is I'm not going to say it's miles ahead of Xbox Party. I haven't spent enough time in there.
It's high quality though.
But it is quality, man. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we use Discord to podcast. We're using Discord right now to podcast, and the quality of it's pretty top notch. So if they can maintain that through the Xbox, I'm super excited. But look, guys, I'm going to move on to our PlayStation topic for the evening. How exciting. But please hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, and we go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. G'day, all the guys in the chat. You've been amazing. You really do power the show. We've had 100 of you here through the night. So it's great to have all of you in, giving us your takes. Absolutely love it. Welcome, Cozy. Welcome, AJH. Silent Hill, exclusive to PlayStation for 1 year. Another remake for PlayStation as well. Let's not skip over another remake for PlayStation. It's a bit of a step though, right? Because if you're talking about the remake of
actually a remake, like for 20 years.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a bit of a different thing. You actually have to really build the game from the ground up. Not like The Last of Us, where they just built the game from the wireframes up and ported in assets. But we're not going to get back into that again. But another remake for PlayStation. I think this one's a smart decision. Everyone's been asking for Silent Hill. I did see, and I called out because I had to, a couple of people that spent the early part of this generation taking a dump from on high on the creators of the medium. And these are the guys that will be developing Silent Hill, who are now super excited to see Silent Hill, strangely, being made by those same developers.
The hypocrisy.
Oh, it's nuts. It's absolutely no, because the original developers are coming back to help with their 8-bit like programming. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm excited. I loved Medium. I think this will be a great game. But this just goes like, this happens at a time with the CMA's deal where they're complaining about money hatting, like, oh, Microsoft will be able to keep things exclusive and stuff. And then they go and do this. Doesn't look good. I mean, is the CMA paying attention to this? We're not going to go back to that. Look, I'm excited to play the game. I have a PlayStation, so I'll be playing it day one. Silent Hill has like some fantastic memories for me. Me and my best friend or my former best friend who unfortunately passed away, nearly 10 years ago. We spent a lot of time on Silent Hill, just hanging out, playing bits and bobs. So I will definitely go back, and it's a shame for me that he missed this. But it is exciting for me that he didn't get to see it released exclusive on PlayStation. So look, guys, I'm going to go to you. Post up, of course, the guest first. What did you think of Silent Hill being announced as an exclusive? What do you think, PlayStation dipping their toes into another remake? And the developers who's making it, what are your thoughts on Silent Hill as a whole?
I kind of knew about this. I
think
kind
most
of knew
people
about
do.
it that it was going to be announced. What I think about this, I'm not a Silent Hill person, like the horror game, the horror genre. Y'all can have that. Honestly, I think it has a lot of proving. It has to prove itself. Again, I think back when the Silent Hill franchise was going back in the 90s, I think they totally sold about 9 million copies. And I think that's where Resident Evil was birthed from. And then when Resident Evil came and took over the reins, it kind of left that franchise in the shadow. But you got Callisto Protocol, you got Resident Evil, you got Dead Space, you got all these titles that's making up the horror genre right now. I think Silent Hill got to really prove itself when it comes back, and hopefully it does. Hopefully this is a strong rebirth of the franchise. I think it's a great time to do it because with all the first-person shooters and over the shoulder genres and stuff like that, you need something fresh and something different where you're just not running and gunning all the time. So hopefully it has a strong rebirth.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing, right? When you bring back a remake, it's a bit of a tightrope that you've got to walk. You know, you've got to be true to the original, but you also got to bring something new and fresh to the game. And as you said, there is a lot of horror, which is I love the genre. But there is a lot of horror and there's a lot of competition in that specific genre and market right now. So they're going to have to really stick the landing and not break both of their legs like Gotham Knights did. Umbra, what do you think?
It looks amazing, though. It looks incredible.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw the 4K trailer, I was like, oh, okay. This looks amazing. So hopefully they bring some freshness to it.
I'm going to terrify you in 4K. Yeah, like you, I'm not too big on those types of games either, I'll be honest. The psychological type of horror games, not my cup of tea. I don't know if it's the blackness in me. I don't know what it is. I'm just not trying to go through all that.
We all know about your
oh yes,
he's running away.
My black instincts kick in. It's like I don't want to be in this world. I don't want to be in this psychological
abandon
world.
your teammates in this one.
So post up. If you don't know, what Umbra does is he'll send out his white friends. Because we're more than happy to investigate, what's going on. And if it's safe, he's coming out there, right? But if you get killed, he ain't coming to get you. No, he's like, no.
No cares. Absolutely none.
That's what we're doing.
So post up, darling.
Don't tell me you like that in Halo.
We're looking for another some chocolate to replace our current chocolate. So if you ever want to jump on Grounded with us, I just have this feeling that
we're looking
you'll
for a
be our
brave
knight.
We all survived together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's telling you that now.
Come home. Everybody come home.
He's telling you that now. He'll bring your ashes back.
Don't you put that in. Everybody coming home.
Listen, we were playing. The reason they know that is because we were playing Grounded. I'm like, look, man, I'm not going out there with these. Pete likes to go out there at night and all that. I'm like, look,
they was fighting the ant or something, and you ran off on them?
No, the ant I fought. But they were fighting the damn tarantulas, whatever the huntsman spider. Yeah, I'm like, look, man, you on your own. Yeah, I told him, I told him, look, when I give you a warning and you still decide to go and do it anyway, that's on you. I said, hey, y'all, I think I see the leaves moving over there. You all might want to come back. Oh, no, it's all right, mate. Help me, bro. Help me. Like, no, I told you what was going to happen. And you did it anyway. Now you're getting ramped up. Whose fault is that? Huh? I told him. See, post. So I saw the thing move. I'm like, all right, feet don't fail me now. I got up out of there.
Man.
They decided to run off there and adventure out. I'm like, I'm going to wait here. I'm going to be the brain of these operations and send you all out there and you all do the exploring. Because just like that's why I said, our white brothers and sisters, they do things more adventurous than black folks. It's just the truth. We don't do some of the things you all do. Let me
y'all see the leaves moving over there.
Let me go see.
Let
me go see what that chainsaw noise is outside. I'll just go check that out.
Let me go investigate. Yeah, not me, not I.
No,
But no,
look,
with Silent Hill.
we'll bring it back to Silent Hill,
Silent
which is
Hill.
playing on screen right now. We can kind of gather it's not your cup of tea, Umbra, but what are your
Well,
thoughts as a whole?
let me say this. So Blooper Team is interesting because what I'm looking at is seeing how they deliver this, because I wasn't that much of a fan of what they've done so far. And I saw they basically bit the entirety of the medium from another game. I forgot who it is now, but I watched a whole video on it and a guy broke it down step by step that they just basically plagiarized this other game. So I'm like, oh, that's not a good look. And if I find it, I'll link it to you guys so you can see it after the fact. But it's telling, I'll say that. So I'm not sure how much leeway I give Blooper Team just yet. That's one. Two, I'm not too much into psychological, scary games like that. So it's iffy for me. And I did play previously part 1 and 2 back in the day. My story with part 1 was, for whatever strange reason, my black instincts didn't kick in this day, post. And I was in the basement of my family's house, lights turned off, sound turned up. And all you hear is these terrible moans and noises and such from the creatures trying to get you and whatever. And I'm playing through it. I'm like, and I didn't realize until after maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. And then I'm like, why the hell am I down here with the lights off? Like, well, where are my instincts? Where are my survival instincts? They didn't kick in. So I don't know. Ever since then, I kind of had this, and I've always been drawn more to the Capcom games. I've always been drawn more to the Resident Evils and such like that. But I will say the game looks good. I don't want to judge it early or, misjudge it. Part 2 in the series is revered, but the series as a whole is, and I hate to use this word, is typically mid. So I don't know how great the game will be overall. If they stick close to what the original was, but just give us improved visuals and such, maybe it'll be great. I don't know. But what I am interested in seeing is the cap from these PlayStation fans who trashed Blooper Team when they gave us the medium last year. I want to see that turnaround from their attitudes. That's what I want to see. I want to see them praise this now that it's exclusive for a year to PlayStation.
And the receipts are out there. I was pulling them the other day. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. I mean, look, that'll never be me. You'll never see me bag out a development studio, on Twitter. But if I did, you'd never see me cap for a game that they were making because it was exclusive. This is not something that I would do, but a lot of people are doing it. It's nuts. One thing I kind of want to mention here is this could be the resurgence of Konami, bringing back some of their IPs, because they've been really quiet for a minute, right? So it's good to see Konami going, you know what, right? We're going to start bringing back some of our IPs and see where we're at. And just to what Assassin was saying in the chat there, look, I think Blooper Team didn't really have the budget. I did see that video, and they did plagiarize quite a bit, but maybe they don't have the best budget for story or storyboarding, maybe whatever it is. But now they've got a budget behind it. Be interesting, Pete, to see what they can do with Silent Hill. Is this a game that you're going to be stoked to dive back into when it comes?
I was never a big Silent Hill fan because I never really had a PlayStation. I didn't really play those type of games. In saying that, yeah, I am excited to play it. Disappointing that it's coming strictly to PS5, I think, for a year. I think TJ was telling me, TJ or Truly, I'm not sure which one. So yeah, I think it is something I'm looking forward to playing. In terms of Blooper Team, I think that the Blair Witch was better than the medium, although the medium was quite good. So I think that they are better when they don't have to create their own narrative. And with Silent Hill, everything's there. The bones are there. So all they need to do is draw on that psychological horror. I think Post Up made a brilliant point earlier when he said when Silent Hill first released, there wasn't all these horror games that were out there. So, the genre was open. Now, with the re-emergence of the horror genre with Dead Space and Callisto Protocol and the Resident Evil remakes, it's going to be a much more saturated market. So I don't know if they're going to be able to stand out. Nostalgia will play a big role in that. So, you're going to get those old term fans. You're going to get the new people that have never played it before and are going to want to experience it. You're going to get the people that have seen the movie and want to try out the game. So I do think it'll be successful. I think it'll be more successful than the medium was. And yeah, I
Yeah.
am looking forward to it. In terms of what you said, Riskit, I think you made a great point. This might be what brings Konami out, and I think we've seen that with Capcom. Capcom have been incredibly successful now with, remaking Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. That's transferred over to making a fantastic game in Resident Evil 8 and I think Game of the Year winner on numerous fronts. So I hope they do that as well.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And Konami does hold like a lot of IPs that are beloved. So it'd be pretty interesting to see, what they want to bring next, or if there's anything that they do bring next, what it's going to be. Cutie, look, I'm going to jump to you. I know that you're not the biggest fan of horror genre, but just to back off what Pete said, in actuality, the only competitor to Silent Hill at the time is going to be one of its biggest competitors now, depending on release date, which is Resident Evil. Are they the type of games that you think you'd dive into? And if not, is there anything from Konami's stable that you'd be interested to see them bring back?
I mean, if it came to like PS Plus, I'd play it. Wink, wink. No. Look, it's iconic, and 20 years ago, how old was I? 10? That was scary. Pyramid Head, very much in my dreams. Not that I played the game a lot, but I did see other people play it. And I think you touched on a few things that I think are really spot on, Riskit and Pete and Umbra and Post Up. You all said the same thing pretty much. That the fact is this remains to be seen. If they can stay true to the original as much as possible, then that will assist them. But I have a feeling that they're really going to be leaning in to the people who first played this game when it first came out, and they're going to be relying on that nostalgia to make it good and make it successful. So look, it remains to be seen. Konami is not really my jam, but I mean, this is not going to be a day one for me.
Yeah, look, I got to agree with Cutie and Umber on this one. As Konami's not really my biggest. When I look at games, from Japan, I do think Capcom is my cup of tea. But they got a lot of IPs there that could come back in a big way. You've got Metal Gear. I think everyone would love to see another Metal Gear reimagined.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They've got Bomberman, Contra. A new Contra, like totally reimagined, would be awesome. Frogger, everyone wants a new Frogger.
Yeah, totally. You know what? That reminds me of something that I heard at PAX. I went to a panel that was filled with gamers that were sort of 35 and plus, and it sort of just says I think the name of the panel was "It's okay to play if you're old." And they were mentioning, they were like, what was the first game that you played? And they were talking about, and they're like, what we should get people to remake the old games that we all love. So I guess it's just the theme lately. And no, Last of Us is not an old game. Just saying.
Yeah,
they got other classics too that we
the Metal Gear Solid remake is definitely coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hope so. They have other classics outside of the Contras and the Metal Gears. I mean, they have Castlevania. They have Sokuden. What else do they have? What's that song? Is it Zone of the Enders? I think.
From a third-person over-the-shoulder shooter.
Those were the three IPs they spoke about: was Silent Hill, Castlevania, and Metal Gear Solid.
Pretty much.
I think all of those probably are being dished out to other studios and probably in development right now. I know Metal Gear Solid remake is. Solid remake is.
And that was a rumor. I remember seeing that some time back, and maybe last year or something like that.
Yep.
Where they said Konami was probably doing that. It's weird though to see such a mega, previously mega studio or publisher go down like that, and they only have like pachinko machines and such now. It's kind of crazy. Like that's crazy legendary IP they have that they're just not even touching.
Mm-hmm.
They just license things out, right? Licensing things out.
Or
That's
sell
weird.
them off to people who would to studios who will do something with them, to be honest. But I mean, hey, if Konami's going to start stepping out of its box and making games again, like games are never a bad thing, right? Whether they're a bad game or a good game, just give us more games. We'll have more to talk about. We'll have more to play, and everyone's going to love that. It's what we're all about, right, Gaming?
Exactly.
That kind of brings us to the end of our show. We kind of a short one this week. I don't want to drag on, when there's not like a heap to talk about, kind of bloat the show. And it's always great to get out of here early and play a bit of COD. I mean, I know that's what I'll be doing immediately as soon as we shut down. So post up.
I don't have COD.
I'm down.
Post up. I just want to say thank you, mate, for coming on the show, gracing us with your presence. You've been an absolute champion. Your takes are always great. And it's great to have you on. I just want to let everyone know before we outro you, if you want to find Post Up anywhere at all, all of his socials are linked down in the description. Head down there. The link is there. It'll take you straight to him.
Thank you.
Hit that subscribe button and hit the like button on any of his videos and check out his podcast. It's absolutely a great time every time I've checked him out. I'm never live, unfortunately, but I do check him out on demand. Post Up. Let the people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to for the week, what you'll be playing, what you're looking forward to, and we'll get everyone out.
You can find me on Twitter at postup_BBB. Find me on YouTube at postup. I got a podcast called State of Gaming. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Come through. This week, well, I guess it's so much to play. My guys just got me to download NBA 2K23, so I have to do my player net. I still got Scorn. I still got a Plague's Tale. I just ordered Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 while we was on the show. The duty y'all talking about it and me seeing it on the screen. It's Game Pass. It's just so much, and then there's other stuff in Game Pass. I think Tiny Tim that my guy Noah put me up on. It's just
Tiny
so
Kin,
many.
right?
Tiny Kin, it's just so many.
Tiny
games.
Kin's good. Yeah,
I gotta finish that too.
It's so much to play, and this the thing that I kind of worry about with Game Pass, the overabundance of content and not being able to get back catalogs is gonna be crazy. But yeah, that's why you can follow me. Thank you all for having me anytime, man. Anytime. And I definitely got to reach out and get y'all on my platform, support each other and things like that. So yeah, thank you all for having me.
No, absolutely, man. It was a pleasure having you on the show, man. Doom Cutie, another fire week, man. Please let the people know where they can find you, what you'll be doing, will you be back up streaming this week, what you'll be playing. Tell us all about what's happening.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to get better at using keyboard and mouse for first-person shooters. So that's a challenge. but I've got some good support behind me in my teammates. So when I play, not these guys.
Is it for Fortnite, Cutie? Is it for Fortnite? You're trying to improve it on them, or what?
Well, Fortnite's the first-person shooter that I'm most comfortable with.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that by the time everything fully releases with Modern Warfare 2, I'll be a bit better. So we'll see. Watch this space, guys. Yes, I will be streaming this weekend. I did miss last night. It's been a hectic week. So you'll see me streaming on Twitch this weekend. But you can catch me on Twitter. That's where I am most of the time. I do have Instagram as well. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Have a great week, guys. And I'll catch ya in the internet, in the games.
On the next one. Look, you can find all of us, by the way, down there in the description. So hit any one of those links and you'll find us. You don't need to find me because you're already here. JediKnightPete, another great week. Great games out. Let's get out of here as quickly as possible so we can play COD. Let the people know where you find you, what you'll be playing. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bang.
COD, playing Plague's Tale, Requiem, not sure which one I'm going to dive into. Over 100 people watching live today. I know I wrote it, but I just want to thank each and every one of you personally. You guys are absolutely awesome. We only do this because of you guys. We're growing. We are growing all because of you. You can find me at JediKnightPeter on Twitter and on Xbox. Let's do this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will come back to the chat in a minute, but Umbra, first, thank you for coming on the show. Give us your 5 takes. Let people know where they can find you, what you'll be playing. Are you considering now downloading COD now that you've seen it on screen? And we'll get out of here.
Man, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that because you gave Pete like some bars. Jedi Knight Pete had a great week. I'm like, where's mine at? Where's Umbra? Thank you from a brother from down under. I don't know, something. Give me something.
Umbra, the Chi-Town voice, the man of the hour. Been an absolute fire week. You're a legend. You're a champion. You're the best that's ever been. Let the people know where they can find you and what you'll be playing this week and where you'll be downloading COD.
All true facts. I appreciate you for speaking the truth. Thank you, Post, for coming up here and joining us, brother. And absolutely reach out to us. I'm sure any of us would love to come to your platform too, brother. Chi-Town love, of course,
Yes, sir.
You know, had to say that. Had to give love to my co-hosts as well. What were you going to say, Cutie? Because I might take you out of that equation. Okay.
I was just going to address what Bofa said. He said, yes, okay. So I mean just shooter games in general. Not necessarily just first-person shooters, because obviously Fortnite is a third-person shooter.
That's true.
I didn't want to correct you when you said it, so I'm like, I'm gonna let her have that one. But I knew what you meant.
That's okay. Like I said, like it's the game genre that I'm least experienced in. So
it's all good. But I was going to say thank you all to us, my co-hosts, and Risk. Of course, you're doing a great job as host, brother. Keep it up. And of course, you all can find me here at 8:00 Eastern and on Xbox Factor with Boom and Cast on Tuesdays at 12 Eastern. And of course, I just want to thank the chat. Thank you all for coming through and supporting us as you always do. You all hold us down. We really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to move to next to chat. You guys have been absolutely amazing every week. There's more and more of you here. So all the new people, you guys are amazing. Thank you for coming through, checking us out and giving us your time. And all of you guys that have been with us from the very beginning, man, some of you guys are our closest friends in the community and we love having you in here. Really appreciate it. What's going on, Boom? How you doing? So guys, if you haven't yet, please hit the like button on your way out. If you are a new person here, please hit the subscribe button. Share us out. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. And we are out of here. See you next week.
Much love. Peace.
See ya.
See ya.